there are several studies exploring whether or not endurance activity can increase or decrease androgen levels, and whether or not you combine endurance activity and weight training, whether or not that has any effect if you do the endurance activity first or second. And the takeaway from all of this was that endurance activity, if performed first, leads to decreases in testosterone during the weight training session, as compared to the same weight training session done first, followed by endurance activity. In other words, if you want to optimize testosterone levels, it seems to be the case that weight training first and doing cardio type endurance activity afterward is the right order of business. Now, when these are done on separate days, it doesn't seem to have an effect. They showed no statistical interaction, but it seems that if you're going to do these in the same workout episode, that it's move heavy loads first, then do cardiovascular exercise.
The majority of your motivation should come from intrinsic, from the inside. It should be something that brings you joy, like love, all of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If too much is on the outside, the external, it's kind of like that fear almost in that same response. It can work for a little bit, and it tends to work for what I'd call easy things. So extrinsic works for like, hey, am I going to get my kid to, I don't know, mow the grass? Sure, it'll work for that moment to get them to mow the grass, but it won't teach them that this needs to be something that you do.
How to make that motivation self-generated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the key is like, yes, every once in a while you have to do rewards and all that stuff. But the ultimate goal is how do I take that and make it self-generated?
Right.
And if you can do that, you set yourself up to being able to do really hard things and be able to persist and enjoy it over the long haul.
Yeah. So I said, a lot of people get real caught up in carbs and fats and all this, and they're not even exercising. I'm like, you are stepping over dollars to pick up fractions of pennies right now. Like if you just got active, and it's not even a high dose that's required. It's not, a high dose is great, but just going and being sedentary and walking, you will see improvements in health markers for, 100 minutes a week. That's it. And then obviously there can be a linear effect.
You also asked me about brain fog, and this is where the antioxidant luteolin-rich foods came in. And there were studies that showed that if you incorporate juniper berries, fresh peppermint, sage, thyme, certain types of hot and sweet peppers, these apparently are all luteolin-rich foods, celery seeds, parsley, artichokes, and dried Mexican oregano, they actually helped with the brain fog. So, I say to people, if you're struggling with that, you want to kind of sharpen things up, spices you'll find throughout the book. And one of the reasons they're one of my favorite things is that they last a long time. They salt-free, sugar-free, calorie-free, because I'm not suggesting a mix that has added sodium in it, but they hit the high notes on lots of different conditions. And so it's worth stocking up on those, and it turns out that for brain fog, certain spices can be pretty useful.
What is your take on sodium?
Our body needs sodium, so I think that we just have to be careful about the amount that we consume and where we consume it from. So I think that being aware of the added sodium in processed foods, frozen vegetables can be a great option for people, inexpensive, so that they get their vegetable boost, but if it has a sauce or an added sodium or, that the added ingredients are what throw it off. So our body needs sodium, but it's the amount of sodium that we consume in our diets that's usually too high.
Another coffee
benefit?
Yeah.
So the performance boosting effects of coffee, I think, are well documented at this point, that caffeine has an ergogenic effect, meaning a performance boosting effect. Boosts mental acuity, particularly for people who are not, who haven't developed a dependency on caffeine. But if you are not dependent on coffee and you ingest a little bit of caffeine, it's going to have a performance boosting effect. It's going to have a physical performance boosting effect, a cognitive performance boosting effect, particularly for high demand activities and tasks. So yeah, caffeine is great. So it's a powerful pre-workout.